This just came in. This is almost midnight on April 7th, 2023. According to Dan Abrams' report, the second autopsy report says that, quote, no evidence of this individual being struck by a vehicle. So this autopsy report apparently is going to tell us that Stephen Smith was not struck by a vehicle, as the first autopsy report says. And guys, this is a big deal. This report also says that the autopsy report will absolutely have a cause of death. Wow. Can't wait to hear this, but listen to what we have so far.
Now, despite the ME initially ruling that he died from a hit and run and labeling the cause of death as undetermined, something the new private team of pathologists say was unfortunate, since no evidence of vehicle debris or skid marks was found on Smith's body. Quote, we see no evidence to suggest the victim was struck by a vehicle. Now, we have no indication at this point that any of the Murdaughs were involved, and Buster Murdaugh, the oldest and only surviving Murdaugh son, has strongly denied rumors he and Stephen Smith had some sort of romantic relationship. But Sally Smith says she saw Alex and his brother Randy Murdaugh at the scene where Stephen's body was found hours after he'd been killed, and that Randy Murdaugh offered to represent the family pro bono without being asked. So at the least, new questions are fair to ask. Joining us now is Dr. Michelle Dupree, the pathologist who oversaw the second autopsy conducted on Stephen Smith's body. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Appreciate it. I know you are not discussing the results of your review until the report is final, but let's talk about what you can say related to the cause of death, manner of death, etc.
Okay, well, yes, we did do a second autopsy. I did not perform that. However, I was in the autopsy suite and observed everything that was conducted. We were very fortunately, able to get everything that we needed to do a full and complete second autopsy. So everything that was done is helping us get closer to the answer of what actually happened.
And are you confident you are going to be able to provide an answer? Again, I know you can't get specific with us on what it may be, but just that you will have an answer on cause of death?
Absolutely. I think that we will definitely have an answer for cause of death. The manner of death, as you know, really is going to depend largely on the investigation. And SLED has definitely stepped up and is handling that, and we are supporting them in any way that we can.
Well, I actually want to play you a piece of sound from Dr. Kenneth Kinsey. He was involved also in the Alex Murdaugh trial. As you know, he's now leading the investigation into Stephen Smith's death. He was on Ashley Banfield's show. This is number 3. Earlier this week, and this is what he has said after 8 years about the evidence.
Well, I don't want to take it the wrong way, but I'm very, very excited about the report coming, and the pathologists were very upbeat and said they had everything they needed to do a proper examination of Mr. Smith. So I didn't hear anything negative about that, and they were, saying that it was very good situation for the Smith family and for the investigation.
Doctor, is that a fair characterization of where you are?
Absolutely, and Kenny and I are working very closely together. This is definitely a team effort, and we're on the same team.
Now, do you have any explanation for why the initial medical examiner said what they said about this being a hit and run, and there also being a sexual assault test being done, et cetera?
Well, 2 questions. One, the sexual assault exam is often done when we find suspicious or circumstances like this on males or females. So that was just being thorough. I think that was very professional to do that. As far as why it was ruled the way it was, we look at the evidence that we have at the time. And as you've mentioned earlier, there was no debris in the road. Typically when you find a hit-and-run motor vehicle accident, you'll find debris from the grill or the mirror or something of that nature, and there was none. In addition, oftentimes when a pedestrian is struck by a vehicle, they are literally knocked out of their shoes. And again, this was not the case. And so looking at that evidence that we had at the time, that is why it was ruled the way that it was. It was left as undetermined, however, which is a benefit to the case, because then as new information is found, it can go forward.
Well, maybe I'm not understanding, but it seems that everything that you said about what they found at the time would indicate it was not a hit and run, right?
Well, again, it depends. It's not a typical hit and run, perhaps, but again, because of the circumstances surrounding that, I'm not surprised that it was ruled a hit and run.
And again, just for clarity, what aspect of it makes you not surprised that they declared it a hit and run?
Well, again, looking at the scene, looking at the evidence, there was no other evidence at the time to suggest anything else. For example, there were no stab wounds. There was not a gunshot wound.
Right.
It was blunt force trauma, which could be caused from many different things.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.